Hey guys, Utah here, Blueberry Hill. So thanks for coming back. This is August 10th. I'm doing a deck, I guess number 2 video. This is still the structural stuff. I'm just putting up all the I-beams. Here I'm doing I believe it's the upper section near our master bedroom sliding glass door. So there's 3 beams going up right kind of where I'm working, just so the span's not very big. But anyway, I have them, so I'm using them. I am, as you see me playing with the come-alongs, I'm trying to figure out how to get it up there. I could not get the tractor in this location, so I had to make use of the come-alongs to make sure nothing falls on my head. So anyway, slow and go. It took roughly about 20 minutes to get this up there. I finally used the dumpster. They have little hooks that you can put tarp on there, right? So on the other side, I hooked the come-alongs to that, and then I hiked the end that is right against the dumpster fairly easily up. So that helped a ton. And then I'm just trying to move my way up into the position. I don't really care where they sit on the C-channels underneath the container, just as long as it's kind of a common span between the beams. But anyway, it was fun trying to get this up. Slow and go, 20 minutes like I said. You can see the recess I cut in the middle of the beam. That kind of hooks right onto the C-channel on the container. So once I get it high enough, you'll see me actually just lift it up in place, and then it stays. So it seems like it's pretty safe to not worry about it too much at that point. And it locks in place, and I start welding it up. Now, so I almost have it high enough where I'm just going to pick up the end of the beam in a second, just grind the paint and stuff off in that container. We're going to weld it. I am using the cutoff wheels and not the grinding wheels because they get gummed up. Anyway, there you see me just lift it up, lock it in place on the C-channel, and I'm not too worried about it because there's a come-along on the left side that kind of holds it in place. So now just make sure it's level, start welding it up, tack it in, and burn it all in. So here I'm using the tractor. Anytime I can use a tractor, I make use of it. The forks, kind of just, it's a lot easier not having to lift it myself or do the come-along. So anyways, I'm using the forks really close to the container, just barely enough room for me to tilt it up there, and it's almost on the full extension of the tractor as well. You see a PEX tubing. We have an outside shower right there just so I can hose off in the end of the day, and I have to take it down because it's kind of in the way. You'll see me undoing it right there and putting it underneath the beam, and then I put the beam in place, and we're good to go. This is a lot easier, of course, because the tractor does the work. I don't have to do the work. I just made sure it was in place, come along it still, and just burn it in. Yeah, here you're going to see me using, there's a small little kick out on the beam, so I had to use a couple of pieces of wood to persuade it into position. And make sure it was parallel with the other beams, and then I burnt it in, so not too bad. So with the one side done, here I'm doing the little concrete pads for the main part of the deck. It needs support. I'm trying to cantilever a lot of these beams, but I need some support here. This is the main part. It's just going to be 2 beams, 2 posts rather, holding the beams up. I'm doing a kind of a joist beam setup. You'll see that in a minute. But here we're using 2 bags per sonotube, shove it in there, and then wait for a day to let it dry. And then we install the other beams and the posts the next day. So Angie's kind of helping out. She's watering. She's a concrete mixer person, sort of. Although I was doing it with the shovel this time, we didn't use the electric mixer. It's no big deal. But anyway, we had you see we put plates, the same plates we used in the other posts for the containers. We'll put them in place, and that's what's gonna get welded to that, and call it good. So it's August 13th now. So here I am putting the big long beams. These are very long. They're 26 feet and 23 feet long beams. I didn't cut them down. I didn't need to. I just basically shove them in place, and I'm putting the brackets upwards, so I'm not going to rack my head when I'm going underneath this thing. The other ones are the other way around, and you have to be careful walking underneath the beams to not get racked. But anyway, this was a lot of fun putting it in place because it's kind of long. I basically just shoved it underneath there. You see me watering the grass again. And we have cedar underneath the container there for firewood. I had to hose that down pretty good. The sparks from the welder, you never know. So anyway, safety, make sure it's no fires in the neighborhood. Anyway, here I'm gonna basically grind what I have to so I can weld the beam in place, and I'm gonna use a tractor to get the beam up real high, and then use come-alongs to make it go to those two beams that you see right in front of us. So this is a little bit too high, but it let me rack the beam up so I can pull it up with come-alongs. Yeah, once it's in place, I have two come-alongs, one on each beam, and I just tack weld it, and then I can get the tractor out of the way. In fact, the tractor has a very slow bleed off. They all seem to do that for whatever reason, but anywho, get it out of the way, and now I have access to everything. So this is now what I'll call it cantilevered. It's all welded to each other, and I'll put a post right on the right side underneath this beam. I don't think I show you that too well. I think my camera actually drooped, so I didn't see the. Here I'm cutting the post, but you're not going to see me put it in place properly. So anyway, camera issue, and here's the final product. You can see the post in place and the beam leveled out, etc. So I'm going to put up the second beam, the big long one. It's roughly 23 feet. This took me a little bit to do because I had to build a kick down from the container C-channels underneath the container to support it, and then put the post in place as well. I don't really have video for that. I didn't feel like doing the whole thing, but anyway, it's now the 14th, and I'm going to put the first three beams near the dumpster side, the pool side. These are fairly easy. I have there's 12, 13-foot beams, and then I have a couple of 11 and a half foot beams. So the longer ones are going in right now, and they're going to kind of cantilever over towards the dumpster pool. And you'll see me do some fancy stuff with come-alongs. Well, not fancy, but I have to hold it so then right there you see the come-along on the back side of the beam, so it doesn't fall off the edge. It's kind of almost on a tippy point. Anyway, I'm just putting them in place, put all three in place, then I measure everything up and weld them in. This actually went fairly quick. Again, I don't really care which way I put the brackets on there. I think I put them downwards because I can crawl underneath this and not rack my head. But anyway, I'm just putting them in place, put them roughly where they're supposed to be. When I put the third one in, I'm going to measure, make sure it's kind of halfway in the middle for the middle one, and grind and then burn them in place as well. So here I'm doing the come-along on just the one side because that's the side that wants to tip upwards. Yay, third beam. So this went fairly quick. Didn't really take me too long at all. I'm burning through the beams pretty quickly on the building. I think I have two giant ones still left in the pile. Don't know what those would be for, but I have the last few small beams here, and they're going to be the last part of the deck right above the camera. So here I'm just positioning the beam, put it in place, make sure it's parallel with everything, and then the center one I'm going to move over, make sure it's halfway in the middle. And here we go. I'm just going to show you real quick, burning them in and welding everything up. So everything's measured out. I just have to get in there, do a few burns, and we're good to go. Again, it's a fairly quick operation on this one. So I'm using the tractor as a shelf so I can get the welder close to where I'm welding. Otherwise, I didn't have enough reach for the leads. Easy peasy, done deal. So yeah, Jake showed up a little while later, and we got to put in the other 3 beams. This was pretty straightforward. They were just barely long enough, and that's how I kind of calculated everything. I put square tubing overhang welded on the back side of the beam. It goes towards the container, and that sits on the lip. We just made sure everything was level, and then we make a support piece where Jake is. Once we get the come along to hold it in place, we measure everything's level, and Jake just hoists it up, and we cut a little extension there, burn that in, and then we move on to the next 2 beams. Yeah, the first one was the test mule, and then we just duplicated the other ones, made sure everything was level. Jake was responsible for that one. I just burned them in, and on we went to the next 2. There, Jake is grinding the next locations for the next weld up. I'm getting the beam, I'm putting the end piece on it, and then we just hike it in place and rinse and repeat. So Jake's grinding above on the container. Kind of worked pretty good together. I'm really impressed by that guy. So he does good stuff. Don't have to tell him anything. He just kind of figures it out, and maybe because he's watching me or something, I don't know. But he's been pretty good, extremely good help. So very proud of him. So Jake's gonna basically, the way we measure the support height is he basically lifted it up, I cut it to height, and then he holds it in place, and I burn it in. So pretty easy, nothing magic. So here we're working on a 3rd beam, it's the last one. So we're at the max extension of the tractor, so this was a little bit more tricky than the other ones. We basically just manhandle it in place. We put the come along on the left side, you know, pretty tight on that one, and Jake had to lift it up a little bit more on the right side. So anyway, we made it fairly straightforward. It was just manhandling the stuff to measure the support extension that we had to make in there on the right side. So we'll measure it and make sure it's parallel with the other beams. And then Jake lifted it up. It's got a level right there, right above my head. And I cut it, and we just burnt it in place, and we were done. Almost. I still have to weld the left side. Yeah, there we go. And then I use the tractor as a shelf again, and then weld it in, burn it in. Main structure done. Yay. Guys, we're here in Blueberry Hill, so here we are. It's August 15th. We're continuing the deck build. Yay. I guess this is day, I don't know. I haven't really kept track, but anyway, several days. I do 2-3 beams a day, usually 2. Jake was over here yesterday, and we basically did these 3. These are the hardest ones because they're up in the air, blah, blah, blah. I did those 3. You saw that in the time lapse. Those are fairly easy because I could kind of get the tractor over there and prop it up. Definitely needed 2 people to do the ones that are in the air, and we're done. So the main structure is finished. Very happy about that. I haven't started any of the staircase. It's almost going to be like 10 feet. Maybe 9 feet off the ground, so we'll have a nice big staircase going down back here. But underneath here is going to be cisterns for the pool, more water storage after we get the gutters put on the building. Back here, a pump to do auto float, refill it, so I don't have to mess with all that junk. And we'll go from there. But anyway, right now I'm just finishing up the structure. I'm going to weld 90-degree brackets to the beams, and that'll we'll tie the 2x6 joists to that. And then, of course, the Trex decking on top of that. The deck will be a little over 1,000 square feet. Too much deck, but it is what it is. I only have to do it once. And then I'm not doing a deck ever again. Well, that's what I'm saying. Anyway, everything went pretty good. Very happy with the process and the progress we did. We used almost every single I-beam from the building we got from Bill. There's a couple of huge beams over there, which we're not going to bother with. I think they're 16-inch tall, huge monsters. They'll probably go to the scrapyard, or I'll give them to somebody for a few dollars. But anyway, structure-wise, we're done. I'm going to start switch over to time-lapse in a second. And we're going to weld the 90-degree brackets to the beams, 16 on center, and we'll build this place out. We are going to paint all this, all the red, whatever that color is, oxide red. We're going to prep it with corroseal, and then we're going to paint it kind of a medium gray. We'll do the undersides of the containers as well, make everything consistent. And then we are going to spray foam the bottom of the container, all the containers, once the weather kind of improves a little bit. It's still way too hot. I don't want to really spray foam outside with it being 110 degrees or whatever the hell is down here. So anyway, that's what we're doing. I'm going to switch over to time-lapse. We'll start welding the brackets and go from there. Talk at you later. This is the 15th, like I said. I'm actually going to start welding on the brackets on the beams that will allow us to screw the 2x6s to it. I'm going to work basically on the first deck layer right outside the door. We have to order the Trex. We haven't done that yet. We're working on that. I still have to build a whole ton of deck framing, so having a little bit of the decking is not going to really help too much yet. But anyway, this is the first top layer, and basically grind. It's galvanized steel. I tried to weld a couple pieces in there, and then I figured, yeah, I cared a little more about my health, so I actually quit. And I went to Hoffman Supplies here in San Marcos to buy a welding respirator. And then I came back and burnt basically the top layer, two beams. I welded all the brackets to them, and you'll see that in a minute. Anyway, there I take off and to go buy the respirator. So I'll just show you how I'm doing all the brackets to this. I basically use the cutoff wheel as a grinder. It does a much better job on the paint on the beams. The grinder, if I use a regular pad, it actually gets kind of gooey. So the grinding wheel takes it all off. So here I'm actually taking a little bit of the galvanization off on the brackets. You can see the respirator on me, and then basically I just fly with it. So this didn't take very long, maybe an hour to do the full beam. And so here I have a locking pliers, put the bracket in place, lock them down, then I weld it in, and we're good to go. So rinse and repeat. I'm not going to show you the whole deck because this will be really boring. I got to do quite a few of these brackets, as you can tell. 16 on center, yay. So welding galvanized, anything plated, galvanized or zinc, whatever, it's toxic fumes, so you don't want to breathe that stuff. But at the same time, it actually sparks a lot, so it pukes up the tip on the welder. You've seen me using clippers to remove the junk out of the tip of the gun. It does spatter. But anyway, it still welds pretty good. Once you burn through that junk, it still has pretty good spot. I'm calling them spot welds because I'm going through where the screw holes are. But anyway, made it work. Basically, there's four screw holes, and then I weld each corner of the bracket down. So after we welded everything up, Angie went around and we actually put corroseal on all the brackets first, just a rust inhibitor, a converter. And then she went around with the paint that we're going to use. This is actually enamel, but we're going to use an acrylic that's the same color to paint all the beams, just to keep them a little bit, anti-water, rust-proof, etc., etc. These are probably good to go. This primer is really thick, but it is not paint. Most people don't paint these things anyway, but it looks a lot better when they're painted. So we're going to do great. Hey guys, we here at Blueberry Hill. So 17th of August, continuing the deck. So this is, I'll call it part 3. We're doing the brackets. You saw some time lapse of Angie painting and stuff. She's helping that out. We started doing a little bit of the decking. So that's getting done. I only have wood for probably the top area at this moment. That's all I wanted to do. I'm going to continue welding more brackets since I have those. I'll try to do the whole section over here by the master bedroom, so that's finished out. I'm trying to hit it in the morning. Just because it's shaded. It's been fairly hot. It was 104 or something yesterday. It's going to be in the 100 or something or other today. I'll do some more decking later. I'll try to do the whole top section here. I have enough wood for that, I believe. And then we're gonna probably order the liner today as well. So I measured that out. I gotta talk to the people. There's a little funky area down there. I'm not sure I'm gonna worry about it. I might just order the liner all rectangle, and it'll crunch up on the end over there. Not too concerned about it. But we are gonna do 1/2-inch foam all around the inside of the container, of the dumpster as well. I do have to grind a little bit, clean it up from the welding, but that's about it. And then the liner takes maybe a week to get. I'm also gonna order the Trex through Todd Roberts, US Lumber Brokers. He's helping me out a little bit with that, and it's 1,100 feet of decking, which is wow. Anywho, it is what it is. It's a little more expensive than it used to be. You can do the math, but we're getting a pretty good deal on it. So anyway, I'm gonna switch over to time lapse and kind of hit it out later. So just more welding. This went pretty quick. There's 6 supports per beam here, so that went pretty quick. Just burning them in real quick, and the ends are not quite 16 center, but who cares? We're gonna have kind of a top plate on the pool, and then there'll be kind of a siding thing, spaced properly from the different heights of the deck. It's actually going to be pretty interesting. We could probably walk off our master bedroom door and just jump right into the pool. Yay! So almost done here. Again, you can see the shadows. This is in the morning. It's nicely shaded, and I think by the time I finish, it's going to be right on the end of the last beam. It's going to be a little bit of sun, but it gets warm when that happens. So I try not to be in the sun too much because it's pretty freaking hot. Anyway, here I'm doing I finished that, then I started doing the rest of the decking. Basically, I double check, make sure the crown is pointing upwards, like for joists, and slide them on. Then I align them, and then I start screwing the brackets to the wood, and that goes pretty quick. So that was no problem. And then of course we're gonna do some blocking. I ended up doing, I think, double blocking on this section. Later on we're gonna switch to single because it spans only like 5-6 feet in between the beams, so not too much blocking required. Just to keep the boards upright, right? So anyway, it definitely tightens up the deck when you do that. Now this video is kind of flaky a little bit. You can't see me doing too much work. I didn't do any close-ups of me doing stuff, but here you see me doing the blocking. I'm doing, you can see them kind of, offsetting each other just so I can put screws in. I'm using 2.5-inch screws with T25 head. Work really good. And of course my impact decided to throw the little spring that holds the ball and the things for the whole bits. That failed, so I have to fix that. But anyway, that's about all I'm going to do for today. And this is the end of this part, and I appreciate you guys watching. Come back to part 3. It'll be many parts. But anyway, appreciate it. Ciao.